Hey everybody, it's Tara. Welcome to the Three Bookshelves. So remember how I said I wasn't going to be doing book hauls every month? Yeah, about that. And remember how I said that every book I bought this year I was going to read this year? Yeah, that's totally not happening. Somehow in the last 6 weeks I ended up with 16 new books. 16. In my defense, I got 2 for free, 4 from used Bookstore, 1 was a $2 ebook, and all the rest were on really great sales. I don't think I spent more than $12 for any of the other books, and that's in Canadian. For you Americans, that's like, what, 75 cents? Still, I clearly failed in self-control this past month. I blame you, BookTube. I blame you. To save both my time and your time, I'm going to try to summarize each of these books in just one sentence and then tell you why they ended up on my bookshelf. We'll kick things off with the many YA books I somehow ended up with, even though I don't love YA all that much. First up is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. This is about a girl who is a huge fangirl of a very Harry Potter-esque book series, and she's starting college at odds with her twin sister, who is always her other half, and she's not sure if she'll be able to finish their epic and very popular fanfic all by herself. I actually got Fangirl from the library at first, and I was maybe half of the way through it before I bought my own copy because I knew this was a book I had to have. I knew I was going to be wanting to read this again someday. Fangirl actually got its start as a NaNoWriMo novel, and if you have no idea what that is, NaNoWriMo is National Novel Writing Month, in which participants try to write a 50,000 word novel in just 30 days. I love NaNoWriMo. It is such a huge part of my life. I've been doing it since 2008, and the novel I've been working on for 3.5 years started as a NaNoWriMo novel. And I love seeing books that probably started as a 50,000 word mess, because that's what you get with NaNoWriMo usually. I love seeing the finished product. I love seeing them edited and polished and published on bookshelves in bookstores, because that's the dream, isn't it? That is definitely my dream. I would love to be published someday. So seeing books like Fangirl that got its start the same way I've started my novel is very inspiring and very motivating to me. Next up is The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert, in which a girl discovers that the fictional world in her grandmother's cult classic book of dark fairy tales is actually real, and she has to travel there to rescue her mother who's been kidnapped. The fictional world is actually real trope is one that I'm using in my own novel, so I wanted to read The Hazelwood to first make sure I wasn't unintentionally plagiarizing it, and second, to see how that trope is handled in another book, how it might be done well, to see how it might not be done well, to get a better idea of what I want to do with that trope in my own book. The next bunch of books I got on a half-off sale at Chapters Indigo. How can you resist a sale like that? First is Simon versus the Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli, in which a closeted teen is blackmailed by someone who found out he's gay. The hype for this book is inescapable, and I want on that train. I'm usually one for more intense reads. I like books that make me cry, that make me angry, that make me shocked and disturbed, but I do every now and then like a feel-good read. From all that I've heard about this book, it sounds like it's so much fun and so sweet and so light, and I'll probably keep this for when I am feeling a little overwhelmed and just need something to make me smile and to make me laugh. And I also picked up The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli, in which a shy and insecure girl pursues a cool hipster boy while trying not to fall for her geeky and awkward coworker. While looking through the YA books that were on that half-off sale, I was torn between this and one other book, and this one won out in the end because of the way that the main character's coworker is described in the blurb. He is an awkward Tolkien superfan with a season pass to the Ren Fair. That just hooked me. I'm a total geek myself, so I like reading books with geeks in them, and I'm really hoping that the geek gets the girl in this one. The next book I have to show you is another one that I have seen all over BookTube. That is The Book Thief by Markus Zusak, in which a girl in Nazi Germany in World War II steals books and teaches herself how to read. I'm not a big historical fiction reader, but one of my reading goals this year was to expand my horizons and to read genres that I typically don't. And according to everybody on BookTube, this is the book to reach for if I want a good historical fiction. And it's about a girl who likes reading. How could I not like that? Next up is 1,000 Pieces of You by Claudia Gray, in which a girl's physicist parents are murdered and she uses their final invention to go into alternate universes and alternate versions of herself to find their killer. The first 5 words in the blurb for this book on Goodreads are Cloud Atlas meets Orphan Black. Sold. The rest of the synopsis didn't really sound much like Cloud Atlas or Orphan Black, but it reminded me of a book I read and loved last year, Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, so I was definitely intrigued. I am somewhat concerned that this one is going to have the YA tropes and YA elements that I don't really like, but the premise sounded interesting enough that I wanted to take a chance on it. And the last YA book I picked up this month is They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera, in which two strangers learn that they have one day left to live, and they spend it having one last great adventure together. This is another book that is hyped all over BookTube, and initially I was not really interested. I probably wouldn't have picked this up if it wasn't on sale for $1.99, but when a really popular book is on sale for $1.99, why not get it? I did really love Katrina at Little Book Owl's review for this book. She said that it made her bawl, it really hit her emotionally, and that's what I love in books, so I'm hoping that this will give me that same kind of reaction. And moving on into adult fiction, the first book I have to show you is Haunted by Chuck Palahniuk. This is a collection of short stories written by a group of writers on a writing retreat that quickly turns deadly when they realize that their host has trapped them. This is actually my favorite Chuck Palahniuk book. I used to have a copy but lent it to somebody years and years ago and never got it back. So I needed a new one, especially because I want to reread this later this year for a video about horror novels that I want to do for Halloween. So get to add this back to my bookshelf finally. And the UK cover was half the price on Book Depository as the US cover was anywhere else, so my cheapness has won out over my need for consistency. And next up we have Bridget Jones's Baby, the Diaries, and Bridget Jones, Mad About the Boy by Helen Fielding. I'm kind of getting crowded out by my books here. In Bridget Jones's Baby, the Diaries, Bridget finds herself pregnant and naturally isn't sure whether Mark Darcy or Daniel Cleaver is the father. And in Bridget Jones, Mad About the Boy, she struggles with single parenting, online dating, and social media, while still struggling with her old problems of alcoholism and weight loss. I've loved Bridget Jones for a long, long time, but I never got around to reading these books because I am usually not happy when a beloved series gets continued or rebooted many years later, so I've kind of been a little scared to read these. But funny story, I didn't really look at the synopses for these when I was buying them because the Bridget Jones, that's all I need to know, right? So I didn't realize that even though Mad About the Boy was released first, the Baby Diaries actually comes first chronologically. And now I don't know which one to read first. I usually read by publication date, but in this case I'm scared that reading Mad About the Boy first is going to spoil me for the who's the father mystery in the Baby Diaries. Not that it's not going to be Mark Darcy, because come on, it's going to be Mark Darcy, but I'd still rather go through the journey of finding that out than just get it handed to me on like page 2. So I don't know what to do. I already put Mad About the Boy on my TBR for the second quarter of the year, but I just don't know. I don't know. Can you guys help me out, please? If you've read these books, let me know in the comments which one you think I should read first. The next 4 books were my used bookstore find, starting with Origin by Dan Brown, in which Robert Langdon has yet another adventure involving history, religion, science, and puzzles. I'm not a huge Dan Brown fan, but I have read the first 3 Robert Langdon novels, and I like them well enough to keep them. They have survived every purge I've done over the last few years. So when Origin came out, I was mildly interested, but not interested enough to splurge for the hardcover. Luckily, I found a hardcover at the used bookstore for $4. $4! Even if I wasn't that interested, for $4, yeah, I'm gonna get that. And next is Next by Michael Crichton. The blurb for this book is really vague, so I'm not entirely sure what it's about. I think it is about a man and his family being pursued for the valuable genes in their chromosomes, or something like that. Again, I'm not a huge fan of this author, but I do still have a couple of his books on my bookshelf, so I figured might as well take a chance on Next for only a few bucks. It's also been a really long time since I read a good hard sci-fi novel, and Michael Crichton is known for doing tons of research and for having his sci-fi novels be based on a solid science fact foundation. So I'm sure I will like this. And one more sci-fi book on my pile is Pandemic by Daniel Kalla, in which a new deadly strain of flu breaks out in China and quickly spreads across the world thanks partly to constant commercial air travel and partly to someone spreading it on purpose. I've honestly never heard of this book or this author, but I usually jump all over pandemic stories, so as soon as I saw Pandemic, I was like, yeah, I gotta get that book. And this book still has a price sticker on it. Whoops, this is Fallen by Karin Slaughter. This book is about a cop who comes home to find a dead body, a hostage situation, and her mother kidnapped, and she shifts from being a cop to a witness to a suspect in the crime. I had actually spotted Pretty Girls by Karin Slaughter at the used bookstore as well, and I got really excited because that book is on my TBR, and then I remembered that I bought the ebook last year and haven't read it yet. So why did I buy another book by the same author even though I haven't read the first one yet? I don't know, there's that self-control thing again. I only just realized looking into the synopsis for this that this is actually book 5 in a series, so I don't even know if I could read it now. This might be going straight from book haul to unhaul. And the last two books I have to show you today were free from an unhaul. The first is The Racketeer by John Grisham, in which a judge is killed and a currently incarcerated former attorney knows who killed him and why, but is probably going to withhold that information and use it as a bargaining chip with the FBI. John Grisham is a super popular and super prevalent author that I have never read, so for free, can't even blame myself for self-control when it's free. And last but not least, The Wolves of Midwinter by Anne Rice. This is the second book in the Wolf Gift series, which basically sounds like Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles, but with werewolves. And that's as much as a synopsis as you're going to get because I have not read the first book in this series yet and I don't want to spoil myself by looking too far into this one. Werewolves, that's about it. And that is all I have for you today. Hopefully I will not have another 16 books to show you in another 6 weeks. But my track record with my self-control is not going too great. Let me know down below if you have read any of these books and what you thought about them. Particularly if you've read the 2 Bridget Jones books, please let me know which one I should read first. And if you've read Karin Slaughter's Will Trent series, please let me know if I should read Fallen or if I'm going to be completely lost having not read the previous 4 books in that series. As always, thank you so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, and if you want to see more from me, subscribe to my channel. And until next time, happy reading, everybody. Bye. I don't even know how I'm gonna get a thumbnail for this. This is a disaster waiting to happen. Oh my gosh. Ow.